Welcome my dear students. Today's topic is self-pollination. You know, the process of transfer of pollen grain from anther to the stigma of the same flower, that is in a bisexual flower or perfect flower, the transfer of pollen grain from the anther to the stigma of the same flower is termed as autogamy. It is a kind of self-pollination. The term autogamy is derived from two Greek words. Auto means self and gamos means marriage. Another type of self-pollination is there, that is, if the pollen grain is transferred from a flower to the stigma of another flower of the same plant. That is, the flowers may be different but they belong to same plant. Then it is termed as geitonogamy. So autogamy and geitonogamy both are self-pollination, because in both the cases the gene or genes are similar, that is anther and egg are genetically similar. Clear? Here I have explained this one by this figure. Look at this case. Here the pollen grain is transferred to the stigma of the same flower, that is, it is from the same flower. Okay, it is autogamy. And in this second case, this one, pollen grain is transferred from a flower to the stigma of another flower of the same plant. Clear? That is why both the cases are self-pollination. Okay? Now, if we consider autogamy are of three types. That is, transfer of pollen grain from a flower from an anther to the stigma of the same flower. The flower is same. From male part to the female part, the transfer of pollen follows three methods. These are homogamy, then cleistogamy, and bud pollination. Clear? So let us start. What is homogamy? In homogamy, the flowers are bisexual. The flower is bisexual, giving male part and female part. Okay? And the flower is kesmogamous. What is kesmogamous? Kesmogamous means the flowers open normally during anthesis. Okay? So, in a kesmogamous flower, kesmogamous bisexual flower, the transfer of pollen grain from the stamen to the stigma is termed as homogamy. That is, the flower must open, the bisexual flower must open, but it will perform self-pollination. Okay, it is done, or this homogamy is performed by different methods. The first one is the spiral coiling of style and filament of the flower. This one. Suppose this is the female part and this one is the anther, okay, stamen. So these two, this one and this one, they will spirally coil to each other. One is female part, another one is male part. In case of verbenaceae, it is shown by Clerodendron viscosum. In case of Nyctacenaceae, it is shown by Mirabilis jalapa. That is, in these cases, autogamy is performed, that is, homogamy is performed by coiling of the male part and the female part, that is, stamen and pistil coil to each other. Clear? Now we are moving to the second method of homogamy. Here it is. Look at this flower. This one is Catharanthus roseus flower of the family Apocynaceae. It is a bisexual flower and the stamens are epipetalous and remained within the corolla tube. Okay, these are the male parts, and you see this one is the female part and it is the pistil. Clear? Okay. Here, during the time of pollen maturity, the style, this part, the style will grow in length. That is why stigma will touch the stamens. It is here. And by this way, self-pollination is performed. Clear? So it is written that the style elongates to receive the pollen. It is in Gardenia florida of the family Rubiaceae and Catharanthus of Apocynaceae. Okay? Many other examples are there. I am just giving you few examples. Okay. I am going to the other method, showing you the other method of self-pollination. That is this one. It is a nice diagram of Grevillea asiatica, okay, of the family Tiliaceae. In this case, the stigma either contracts or bend to touch the anthers. Again, this one is also performed by the activity of the stigma. If these are the mature pollen grains in the anthers, then the female part, it will again take part in self-pollination process by bending or by contraction. Okay, that is the female part, it will bend to touch the mature anther. Clear? So it will be like this. It will bend and the result will be like this. The stigma will bend to touch the anther. This is the female, this is the female part and this one is the male part. Okay, so in teleacy again the female part becomes active to perform the self-pollination. Now I am moving to the another method. Here it is written that the stigma turns back or curls back to touch the anthers if cross-pollination failed in the members of Asteraceae and in the members of Solanaceae and in the members of Nyctogenaceae also. Here the example is given by a disc floret of Helianthus annus. This is the figure. You see, it is ovary, and if this one is ovary and this is the style and this one is stigma. Okay, and this is the tube and these are the pappus, and in such a floret the anthers, 5 anthers, they united to each other, whereas the filaments remain free. Okay, so female part will go through this. Okay, it is up to this, right? If cross pollination is not performed, then what happened? Then if these are the male parts and this one is the female part, then it will grow and bend to touch the anther. Okay, the stigma will bend, it will bend to touch the anthers. Okay, by this way it performs self-pollination. Interestingly, many orchids also perform self-pollination. We know orchids are very showy and they perform cross-pollination. But self-pollination is also occurred. Take the case of Ophiras epiphyra. Here, one of the two pollinia bends towards the stigma to perform self-pollination. Okay. Second case, in Paphiopedilum parisi, this one, when the anther changes from solid to liquid state, that is the state of the anther changes from solid to liquid, and at that time the liquid will touch the stigma. Okay, thus self-pollination is performed. Take the third case, this one. In case of Holcoglossum amacianum, the anthers turn 360 degree to insert their pollen, that is pollinia, into the stigma cavity. Thus, again this one perform self-pollination if the cross-pollination is failed. Okay, next one, that is cleistogamy. For class 12 students, cleistogamy is very much important for your examination purpose. First, we have to know what is cleistogamy. It is the most efficient floral adaptation to promote. It will be promote. One mistake is there. Promote self-pollination. Cleistogamous flower remain either on the ground or under the ground and remain closed and prevent cross-pollination. So if the flower is not open, then and the flower is bisexual, then inside the flower, when the male part and female part will mature, they will fertilize to each other. Okay, the male one will fertilize the female one, female part. So this is cleistogamy. In the plant kingdom, a total 114 genera of 58 families of both dicot and monocot, they perform cleistogamy. So it is clear that the cleistogamous flower remain closed, okay, to prevent the cross-pollination, and inside that closed flower self-pollination took place. So now we have to see if is there any example. Yes, obviously. Generally, it is divided into two types, the cleistogamous flowers. Some are obligate or habitual and others are facultative or pseudo-cleistogamous. Okay. Now, it is clearly written that the obligate are rare. That is, the flowers never open in obligate type because they remains underground. Sorry. This one is Commelina bengalensis of the family Commelinaceae. Okay. Look at the figure. Here, these flowers, they are opened. These are termed as kesmogamous flower, and the flowers are bisexual. These are over the ground, so they will open, the flower will open themselves. Okay, but here these are these structures, they are none other than the cleistogamous flower, and they born on the rhizome and they remain under the soil, so they cannot be opened. Clear? So such cleistogamous flowers are habituate. Okay? So the underground flowers of Commelina are obligate or habitual cleistogamous. Okay. It is written that obligate are rare. The flowers never open in obligate type because these remains underground. Example, Commelina bengalensis of Commelinaceae. These flowers born on the subterranean branches of the rhizome and remain dull. I am giving you an interesting fact. It is here, this term Timbuktu. It is a city in Mali, West African country, Mali, and this city is situated 20 kilometers north of the Niger River. Okay. Here the ground is so hot that there is no insect in the ground. So there is no any cross-pollinating insects. The insect which can perform the process of cross-pollination in a flower. So the underground flora, they prefer cleistogamy, habituate cleistogamy. Indigorifera species of these desert are cleistogamous and antherdehish, but flowers never open, so self-pollinated. Now we are moving to the another part. In case of facultative cleistogamy, the flowers open for a short time but then closed permanently. Okay, what is that? The flower, the bisexual flower, they open for a while, but after that they closed themselves permanently. So pollination takes place inside the closed flower, that is self-pollination. Example, Drosera of Droseraceae as well as Viola mirabilis of Violaceae. Other are Oxalis corniculata, Portulaca oleracea of the family Oxalidaceae and Portulicaceae respectively. Here this is Viola mirabilis. You see here two types of flowers. For a few time the flower will open, but then they close themselves for permanently. Okay. Now we are moving to bud pollination. You know what is Vendi? Its scientific term is Abelmoschus esculentus. Very familiar vegetable. Okay, this one is Bindi. So what happens to this? Here it is clearly written that in Abelmoschus esculentus of Malvaceae, anthers mature long before the stigma coming out of the staminal tube, and anthers dioecious 5 hours before anthesis. What is that? What is that? What happens to Abelmoschus esculentus? Two methods are performed. In the first one, the stigma remain either in contact with the anthers by their lower surface during anther dioecians and get self-pollinated. Here one mistake is that it will be depollinated, or slightly above the level of the anthers during anthesis. Okay, so in this one, self-pollination has been performed by the contact of the anther and the stigma. Okay, but in the second part, the stigma, they remain slightly above the staminal column. Okay, this one is staminal column, and these are the stamens with reniform anther, and this one is the stigma. Okay, so in this case, insects like ant will help, or honeybee will help in the process of pollination. And bud pollination is also performed by pea, wheat, rice, etc. Okay, I am showing you the figure. This is the LS of Abelmoschus esculentus flower. Okay, this is the staminal column, and it bears many stamens. The stamens are so monadelphous and the anthers are reniformed. Okay, this is the staminal column, and the female one remain inside the column. Okay, and after the maturation of the pollen grain, okay, maturation, after the maturity of the pollen grain, these stigmatic parts, they will come out. Okay, and they may or may not touch the anther. If they touch the anther, then it is good. It will perform self-pollination by autogamy. Okay, no agent is required. But if they are slightly over the anther, then insect will visit this one. The female part and the male part will touch to each other. Okay, so these are few methods of self-pollination.